All right, think about this for a second. We've gone from barely being able to write music down to, like, having symphonies in our pockets. It's
Yeah,
kind of mind-blowing.
yeah.
So today, we're going deep, diving into the entire history of music recording. We're talking, like, centuries of people trying to bottle up sound, and it goes way further back than you might think.
It does, way back.
So buckle up, because this deep dive is a wild ride. We're starting with Get This Parchment.
And when we say way back, we mean it. You know, most of human history, music was basically like a fleeting breath, here and gone in an instant. Right.
Woof.
Exactly. But then comes this incredible discovery, a 12th century antiphonary found in Italy.
Okay, antiphonary, not exactly like screaming rock and roll revolution. What is that?
Well, it's basically an ancient musical score. Think like sheet music, but, way, way older.
Gotcha.
This one's a really big deal because it really pushes back our understanding of musical notation even further than we thought possible. It's like someone finding, like, a handwritten note from Shakespeare's time, right?
Well,
Like a direct link to the past.
that is amazing. So, like, even back then, people were trying to find ways to, like, I don't know, preserve music, make it last longer than a single performance. It makes you wonder what else is out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
But how do we go from painstakingly, like, writing chants on parchment to, Spotify?
Right.
What were those first baby steps towards making music something you could, like, experience outside of just a live performance?
Well, that's where technology, even in its early forms, really starts to change the game. Think about the invention of carillons in the 13th century. Those massive instruments often found in churches with bells programmed to play automatically.
Okay, so not exactly pocket-sized tunes.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a step towards making music more mechanical, like
Okay.
setting the stage for something more easily replicated.
Yeah, exactly. And that desire for portable music, for, taking your tunes with you, that's not new at all.
Yeah.
Eventually, you have the development of lamellophones, early music boxes, almost like a precursor to, like, the modern music player.
Wow.
These were portable instruments with tuned metal tongues that created sound when plucked.
Ancient grooves. It's so fascinating how, like, some things, that desire to, like, take our music with us has been with us for centuries.
Yeah.
But, thinking about all those early inventions, there's that gap, right, between figuring out how to record sound and actually being able to play it back.
All right.
It just seems wild that someone figured out how to capture sound before they could even listen to it again.
It really speaks to human curiosity, though, and our drive to push those boundaries. So in the mid-1800s, this guy, Edouard Leon Scott de Martinville, he creates the phonautograph.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
I know, right?
What is that?
It was the first device capable of actually recording sound waves. Now, it couldn't play the recordings back, but it was still a pivotal step, just proof that capturing sound was possible.
So it's like that first blurry photograph. Maybe not perfect, but it opened the door to everything that came after. So we've got notation, we've got mechanical music, we can even capture sound. But what about the recording studio as we know it? When did music go from this, like, solo or small group thing to something bigger, more collaborative?
That is where our story takes us to a true pioneer of sound, someone you might recognize for his guitars rather than his recording ingenuity. Enter Les Paul.
Wait, Les Paul, like the Les Paul?
That's that Les Paul guitar legend. He wasn't just a, like, phenomenal musician, this guy. He was a tinkerer, a real innovator. In the 1940s, he pioneered something completely revolutionary. Multi-track recording.
Multi-track, like?
Imagine, like, for the first time ever, being able to layer sounds on top of each other, building a song piece by piece.
Hold on. So before that, it was just everyone in a room playing live all at once.
Pretty much.
One shot to get it right.
All right.
Talk about pressure.
Exactly. And if the drummer rushed the beat or someone hit a wrong note, well, back to square one, multi-tracking changed everything.
Wow.
And the story behind it is pretty interesting. Les Paul actually partnered with, get this, Bing Crosby.
No way. Bing Crosby.
Yeah, apparently he saw the potential not just for music, but, like, for his radio shows, too.
Interesting.
So they teamed up with Ampex to develop this technology, and, well, the rest is history.
Bing Crosby, the original tech investor, who knew? But I'm guessing that multi-track thing really opened things up creatively, right?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine a single vocalist could harmonize with themselves. You could build these orchestral pieces layer by layer, experiment with soundscapes in ways that you couldn't do before. Even just fixing mistakes became easier. No more starting from scratch every time.
That's got to be a relief.
Right. It was a whole new world for music.
It really is. Like going from painting with watercolors
Yeah.
to having like a full-on digital art studio.
Yeah.
But this is still analog technology.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone from capturing sound to basically layering it like a cake. What's the next leap forward?
The digital revolution, of course. And it happened a lot faster than people think. In 1957, this guy, Max Matthews at Bell Labs, using this massive computer explainer. I mean, this thing took up an entire room, figures out how to digitize sound.
Okay, so like how to translate sound waves into ones and zeros, all that.
Exactly. And get this, only 10 years later, the first digital tape recorder.
10 years! That's insane. From the first digital recording to like basically everything we listen to now.
Right.
It's crazy how far it's come and how fast.
It really is. And this transition to digital, it wasn't just about like convenience or storage. It fundamentally changed the way we hear and manipulate music. In the analog world, everything was continuous, a physical representation of the sound wave. But with digital, it's like taking samples, snapshots of the sound wave, thousands of times per second.
Okay, so like taking slices of the sound, turning a wave into like a bunch of dots.
Yeah.
But how does it actually affect the quality?
That's where we get sampling rates and bit depth. Think of sampling rate as how many dots per second you're grabbing. Higher sampling rate means more detail, so it's a more accurate sound. Bit depth, on the other hand, that's the dynamic range, basically the difference between the quietest and loudest sounds you can record.
So higher numbers in both of those basically means better sound.
Basically, yeah. Early digital recordings, as groundbreaking as they were, they were limited by the technology. They often had distortion, limited dynamic range, and just like a different quality to them, sometimes called cold or sterile compared to analog. But as tech got better, obviously, we overcame those limitations.
Can you imagine those early digital pioneers, though? Huddled over their giant computers and tape recorders, figuring this whole thing out. It's a far cry from today.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we have incredible digital audio workstations now, DIWs for short. Think of them as virtual recording studios. You can record, edit, arrange, mix, master, all within the computer.
So it's not even just about recording anymore. You basically have a whole production studio on your laptop.
Exactly. And it's been huge. Think about Billie Eilish. Records most of her albums, Grammy-winning albums, at home, in her bedroom with her brother, using a DIW.
Really?
Yep. That's the power of digital. Anyone can make music. You don't need $1 million studio anymore to get that professional sound.
It's awesome how technology has leveled the playing field for so many artists. But it does make you wonder, what about the traditional recording studio? Are those days over?
That's the big question, isn't it? The answer, like most things, is complicated. Home studios are incredible now, but there's something to be said for the magic of a professional studio.
Yeah, it's like the difference between snapping a pic with your phone and having like a real photo shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get good results yourself, sure, but the pros have that extra something.
For sure. Professional studios, they don't just have the high-end equipment. They have acoustically treated spaces, experienced engineers, a collaborative environment that's just hard to beat.
So it seems like recording studios are adapting, finding ways to stay relevant. But there have been other big changes in the music industry, right? Things that forced studios to evolve or get left behind.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest game changers lately has been live streaming. Remember when Facebook Live blew up around 2016? That changed everything.
It totally did. And suddenly it wasn't just about like getting that perfect take. It was a whole performance, raw and live, and connecting directly with the audience. But what happened to those big recording studios? Did they just like roll over?
Not at all. They adapted. They realized they had to become more than just a place to capture sound. They had to be like hubs for content creation, recording, streaming, producing, the whole 9 yards.
They started offering everything.
Pretty much. They invested in the tech to support high-quality streaming, gave musicians a way to reach audiences professionally.
Like those old school diners adding avocado toast to the menu, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Adapt or die, right?
That's right.
And the studios that embraced streaming, that offered things like remote recording, online mixing and mastering, even virtual concerts, those are the ones that are thriving, even during the pandemic.
It's amazing how resilient the music industry is, always evolving. Which kind of brings us to the big question, what's next? We've gone from parchment to digital to streaming. And it feels like we're just getting started. What does the future hold for music and recording?
If I had a crystal ball, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that's really interesting is how much music is merging with other tech. We're seeing AI-generated music, immersive audio experiences, even virtual reality
Okay,
concerts.
that's kind of blowing my mind a little.
Right.
Imagine, like, attending a concert with thousands of other fans from your living room, or jamming with your favorite musician, no matter where they are in the world.
It's wild, and it makes you think, how can musicians and producers even prepare for a future where the lines between physical and digital are so blurred?
It's a question we're all asking ourselves. Because it doesn't matter how much technology changes things, right? It always comes back to that spark, that raw talent and passion. Maybe that's the key. Finding that balance, you know, embracing the potential of technology without losing the heart of the music.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The future of music is unwritten, but it's going to be one heck of a ride.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this.
Yes, I
In a
know.
world where the only constant is change, how will you contribute to the soundtrack of tomorrow?